Kia ora everyone, welcome along. This is the Benchwarmers Podcast here on the ACC Network. A couple of Kiwi basketball fans talking hoops every week. Thank you so much for joining us. Usually I start the show, my name is Ben, and I start the show by mocking the lineup. But looking around, we're running out of people to do the show with this week. Maybe it's because I'm mocking people out front, so I'm not going to do it today. I'm just going to welcome in Joel Harrison.
Good to be here. It's good to hear this music, It just really... It fizzes you up. I was actually watching a bit of Super Rugby the other day, and the Western Force, the worst team in the competition for about 10 years straight, they ran out to this music. So I was like, how good is that?
Maybe they're fans of the podcast. So maybe we're the worst team in podcasting, so maybe they're, they're like, hey, we'll keep this going. But you were saying just before, podcast doing great numbers in Germany.
Germany, top 20 basketball podcast. Japan, top 100. Whew. Denmark, we're there, mate. It's an international thing. Just New Zealand, still working on the New Zealand numbers, but hey, thanks for listening if you are.
We'll talk a bit more about Dennis Schroeder, a great German basketball player. We can talk a bit about him playing all right for the Lakers. I've got him in my fantasy team.
Yeah.
There we go. Tick that box.
Tick it off.
We'll carry on. I'll talk just quickly about things I've loved to see this week. Brantley from the Breakers, Jarrell Brantley, on a 10-day contract, came off from playing for the New Zealand team, gone back to the States. He's on a 10-day contract for the Jazz, back in the NBA. So I'm thinking he's kind of like, it's great for him, but he's kind of like when my dad went to the dairy and was 10 and never came. He's not coming back. Brantley might not be coming back to the Breakers, but awesome. I don't know that officially, but it feels like if he's going and he's playing in that caliber, it might be tough to get him back.
Yeah, I remember a few episodes back now, we did a bit of a deep dive on his history and stuff, and he actually got drafted to the Jazz originally. So he got drafted to the Jazz, did his time in the G League, did a weird stint in the Ukrainian and Russian league at the Breakers, and now feels like he's maybe back at home at the Jazz.
Yeah.
Hopefully he can get a bit of game time because... the Jazz, they're still a growing team, building team. They've got some nice young players coming through, so maybe he can add to them.
And we mentioned before, the man with the man bun, we like to see it back in the NBA. Xavier Cooks, he actually got to play in the NBA. He was the MVP of the Australian League. He got some court time the other day, and he got a bit of a shout-out over the commentary.
Signed a multi-year contract on Friday after leading the Sydney Kings to their second straight Australia NBL title. He scored 23 points in a decisive Game 5. For more on Cooks and what he brings to Washington.
I think he got 0 points in 5 minutes, but got a couple of rebounds, and he's in the NBA, which is awesome.
He's also on I mentioned it there, a multi-year deal, which seems more financially stable than a 10-day deal.
Yeah.
It's like, hey guys, we're moving the family back to Utah, but it could only be for 10 days, and then we might be straight back to New Zealand.
I think that's the problem with the Benchwarmers. We keep signing up people for just 10-day deals, and then everyone keeps dropping off. We need to go multi-years on this thing.
We can lock you in for multi-years if you can, man.
Well, we'll see how we'll see how things go at the end of the season. But other things I'd love to see this week, celebrities, they love being at NBA games. Emma Stone, she was there, actor at the Suns game. She got given her name on the back of a singlet. She got given that, a Suns singlet. Hezbollah as well, internet superstar, isn't he? At the NBA game, he was at the Mavs taking on the Lakers, courtside. He almost was like sitting on some. I mean, he's smaller, but he's sitting on someone's lap. I would have thought he would have had to have his own seat on that occasion.
He was with a group of guys he hangs out with. They're called the Nauk Boys. They're YouTuber influencers from America, and they sort of started off, it looked like kind of taking the piss out of him. Now they're really good mates with them, so they're going a big tour. They're doing it everywhere, and that was everywhere of the news and Twitter and stuff, seeing him sitting on that guy's lap.
He looked adorable. It looked like he had a fun time. And just quickly, I heard this week, you like your stats. I'm going to get an early one out of the way. Ben Simmons. Oh, you got the stat thing?
You want the
Oh, yeah, we get to stat chat later. Early stat here. I saw this during the week. Ben Simmons, obviously, it cops a little bit of grief for talking about Australians playing in the NBA, but geez, he's been, in the NBA and been a great performer for, especially at the start of his career.
Yeah.
But he's got 10 bathrooms in his house. And so this stat says, well, first he's got 10 bathrooms, which seems like too many bathrooms, but anyway, but he's got more points than bathrooms this year.
He's got more bathrooms than points.
More bathrooms.
Yeah.
I screwed up. That's why I don't do the stats.
Mate, leave the stats to me.
Sorry,
Right, mate.
the German podcast audience is not going to like that. So he's got more bathrooms than points this year. I think he's averaging about 7 points, but he's averaging 10 bathrooms in his house.
How? Yeah, why do you need 10 bathrooms in a house? It must be some kind of
seems like a lot,
mansion, huge castle. But congrats to him for getting more bathrooms than points.
Well, let's rip into the starting five. Here we go.
This is is the starting five for the Benchwarmers.
Y'all ready for this?
Big question I'm going to leave things with at the moment. Can the 76ers win the title? I mean, the Celtics, they've been losing a little bit lately. The Bucks lost to the Pacers without Halliburton the other night. The 76ers have been on a genuine tear, not like a tear when you rip your undies by bending down too fast, but a good one. Embiid, I feel the need for Embiid. He scored 30 points on like a 9-game streak. They've had 8 games in a row. Joel Harrison, can they take out the title?
I really hope they can't. I also really hope
they can't.
Oh, my flatmate, he's the biggest 76ers wounder of all time. He's every single game they play. Look, I'm probably the same with the Vodafone Warriors as well, but every time they win, statement game, this is our year, trust the process. He's like MVP, and I was like, there's no way Joel Embiid is going to get MVP. And well, it looks like he is leading the leaderboard quite comprehensively now. So I hope something happens to him in the next 10 games so that Jokic or whoever gets it. But yeah, I don't know. They could go all the way, but they do have a history of not doing very well in playoffs.
I mean, Embiid was calling it, Harden the F up. No, he wasn't. That's what we call him. But he was calling Harden the best NBA playmaker in the game right now. So, I mean, it feels like all is well because no one really knew how those two were going to sort of gel as a team. There was talk that Harden was going to go back to the strip clubs of Houston where he likes to frequent, and go back there. But, hey, maybe this team is starting to gel because I know Embiid also wasn't, feel like I say I know Embiid. I don't know Embiid, but I read that he wasn't happy that they kind of picked, they kind of let Jimmy Butler go and they kind of went with, put their chips in on Ben Simmons a few years back. So it's pretty good. I mean, Harden's playing well, Embiid's playing well. Your mate, what's your nickname for Tyrese?
Terry and Maxi. Tyrese Maxi Pads.
Yeah, Tyrese Maxi Pad as well. So you don't think they can win, but it feels like they're up there.
I know. I'm just saying this just because I'm really against them, but they are going well this year, and it's definitely it feels different to previous years. Probably mainly because of Harden. They actually have someone in there who's just actually a really good player. But it's going to be interesting to see. I think the Bucks are still looking very hard to go against.
76ers, of course, I was looking into them during the week. It does feel like it's a more outrageous move for 76 than maybe another nice number that we talk about in the ACC. Gets its name from 1776, the year the Declaration of Independence was signed in Philadelphia. But so it was the first place in America. And when you look at things to do in Philadelphia, it's kind of like when you go, have you ever been to Russell up north in New Zealand?
I have, yeah.
Beautiful town. My mum lives there.
Yeah.
But it's like the first town. So everywhere you go, it's like, it's the first police station, it's the first church, it's the first pub. I'm like, yeah, I get it. It's the first of everything because you're the first town. Philly's the same. They're claiming that it's got the first newspaper, the first hospital, the first zoo, which, yeah, of course, because it was like the first city in America. But
first team to go out in the second round of the playoffs as well this year. I reckon that could be coming up for them.
It's got the Rocky Sylvester Stallone statue as well, and the stairs where he famously. Have you ever seen Rocky? You're a little younger.
I know the.
So he runs up the stairs. You would have seen that in the grey sort of tracksuit, and it's part of his training montage. And then he does the big celebration as he gets to the top of these stairs. Well, it's quite funny because I just passed through Philly once, and we kind of went, we got to run up the stairs with a grey hoodie on. But everyone basically does it. Every tourist runs up the stairs, not necessarily in a hoodie, but does the Rocky. Yeah, it's like your little thing you've got to do as you pass through Philly. Speaking of Jimmy Butler, though, this is point number 2 in the starting 5. Now, following a loss to the Orlando Magic this week, Jimmy Butler, he cranked up a portable speaker and he blasted Nickelback. One of the, Nickelback, I feel sorry for Nickelback. They get a hard time for some reason.
For good reason.
Well, I don't know. I feel sorry for them. But anyway, he blasted Nickelback for 40 minutes as, I guess, some sort of form of punishment for the team.
Yeah, we don't have the exact audio of him blasting Nickelback here, but I think it was this song from my memory.
Look at this graph!
What's that?
That's Nickelback. Look at this graph. And Jimmy Butler was looking at the graph of, I don't know what he's looking at, but that was all the audio we could find.
Well, yeah, he was looking at a photograph of the game and it wasn't making them laugh because they lost as well. I never, what was on Joey's head? It's one of the mysteries, one of the great mysteries.
I don't know.
Some say it might have been some sort of tumor. I don't know. It might have been a hat, some sort of a hat, a fedora or something like that. But Jimmy Butler, he punished the team. Is this a way you can motivate? I mean, is this a way we could get more of the bench warmers along? maybe every week, play a bit of Nickelback, get them in to motivate, because it kind of worked. After that loss, the Heat won 2 in a row.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a good on Jimmy Butler. And, hey, I'm going to say this because I love a pun. Maybe they were playing this song. Do you have this song for me? Tyler Herro. Maybe Tyler Herro was playing that back to him. He was like, they say that Herro could say, "This is all on me, Jimmy Butler."
Well, Tyler Herro, he couldn't do it in the 3-point contest at the All-Star weekend. He was shocking there, but I don't know. He comes out and he plays big games in the playoffs. So
maybe Herro can save us. Tyler Herro. They might be updating that Nickelback song. I like Jimmy Butler. Actually, one of my favourite players, and he remember he made that money, all the money in the bubble. The NBA players were staying in the bubble when COVID was at its most. Was around the world. They sort of brought everyone to the bubble.
Oh, when the Lakers got that jammy championship.
There's still a genuine championship. The Lakers won a championship.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Butler was worked out that basically the coffee there wasn't very good. A lot of players moaning. So he had his own Nespresso machine, charging them $20.
$20 American.
$20 a coffee.
It's like 35 New Zealand dollars.
Oh, you thought, yeah, exactly. I thought Auckland coffee prices were high. But he's like, well, they said they can afford it. They're on millions. And apparently he wouldn't give out change. So if someone had $100, he was like, nah, not giving you change as well. He's like, everyone can afford it. So I like it. There's something about Jimmy Butler I like. It's the hustle. It's the determination.
I guarantee LeBron James wouldn't have forked out $20. No way, mate.
He's tight too, eh? Like he doesn't like spending his money. Third point for the starting 5 of this week, the Grizzlies. Now, do you love them or do you hate them?
I love them.
You love them?
I'm all in, especially when Steven Adams was playing. But look, I'm a big fan of Ja, big fan of Dylan Brooks, just racking everyone up.
You like going to the clubs with Ja, don't you? But yeah, Dylan Brooks. Yeah, it feels like people are either loving him or hating him at the moment. They completed a huge comeback during the week. 29 points in overtime to beat the Spurs. They beat the Warriors this week. Dylan Brooks again, just winding people up. He's like the Grizzlies' Joe Harrison. Like he's punishing for anyone else. I'm sorry, I shouldn't mock you. The only one that will do this podcast.
Jeez, mate, we do this one solo if you want now.
But he said he was like, after the game, he's like, I hold real estate in the Golden State Warriors heads, in their San Francisco heads or something.
I actually saw a good thing this week on Instagram. It's like, is Dylan Brooks the biggest villain in the league right now? And it listed a few things. Like he was taunting Luka Doncic when he didn't play because he's like, you don't want to mark me, I'm the best player in the league.
Yeah.
Like, why would you not come for me? And I think Luka was pretty injured as well.
Klay Thompson was wound up with him the other day. He was holding up like 1, 2, 3, 4, how many rings he's got back at him like after they won the game.
He got into that fight with Shannon Sharp. That was pretty much him instigating it. He pushed over a cameraman and injured him. He said Carmelo and Dwight are not real vets, and he got booed at a home game by his Memphis fans as well, which is pretty dark.
It feels like you kind of need someone like Dylan Brooks. And he brings a lot of excitement to the NBA. He brings a lot of fight for his team. You kind of need someone annoying the opposition. But then I thought Klay Thompson cold reply with him. He's like, when Dylan Brooks retires, no one will ever think of him again. I was like, whoa.
Come on, man. There's no need for that.
Sad. But actually, a few years ago, Dylan Brooks was like, they had during the week, because the internet remembers everything, saying he said he wanted to be like the Draymond Green of the team. And now he's like, I hate Draymond Green. So, it's amazing how these things changed. We're going to go on to point number 4, Warriors and the Lakers. Let's go with 2 of the sort of the teams that get a lot of coverage. Are they done? Joel Harrison, are the Warriors or the Lakers done? Let's go Warriors first.
The Warriors, I don't think they're done because they're currently sitting at 7th with a 36-36 record. They have lost the last 3 though.
Yeah, I was just reading 11 straight road losses for the Warriors. Haven't won a haven't won a road game since January 30th, but they've won like 8 home games. So it feels like the Warriors, our Warriors, the NRL Warriors that we love, it feels like them a few years ago when we were so good at home, but not so good away.
I was actually trying to deep dive a bit on the Vodafone, or the One New Zealand Warriors, the other day, and I accidentally came into like this fan page for the Golden State Warriors.
All right.
And it was like a photo of Steph Curry sitting there with a towel over his head, and someone's like, man, I just feel so bad for Steph. When's anyone else going to step up? Like, he's killing it out there. Everyone needs to back him up and stuff. I was like, oh, well, I don't know. I don't know. But I reckon your Lakers, they're looking good.
You reckon that? Yeah, well, frustrating. I do, yeah, because they rested AD against the Rockets, which I thought was a weird move, and then they got smashed on the boards. They had no big really, and then they lost to the Mavs at the buzzer. But then yesterday they pulled it all out. They beat the Magic. LeBron's apparently coming back at some stage, but I'm like, should I just give up on the season? Would my life be less stressful if I just kind of go, oh, I'm at peace with the fact that they're probably, if they scrape through, they're probably not going to win, or can I still hold hope?
I reckon never, keep the faith. You're a One New Zealand Warriors fan. You got to keep the faith in that aspect. You're a Black Caps fan.
Yeah.
Keeping the faith shouldn't be hard. And look, Anthony Davis is firing. LeBron, he'll be back soon, I think.
Well, yeah, they're saying he's going to be back soon. I mean, but they need to make the playoffs for him to come back, because otherwise there's no real point bringing him back.
Yeah, and they have a positive record since the trade deadline with all these new guys as well. So look, you never know.
Tristan Thompson, they're talking about bringing him into the team.
Really?
Like, do they need some more better playing away from home? Maybe people that are So I was like, oh, maybe we've got that. He was great. I mean, he played with LeBron, right? He's probably towards the tail end of his career, but they probably need another big.
Yep.
So they're talking about bringing back Tristan Thompson, who a while ago, I mean, he lost his keys. Remember that in the nightclub, and he was trying to find them down the top of that lady, and he was really searching hard for the keys.
He's a pants man, old Tristan Thompson.
Yeah.
No, he's a scumbag, I think. But,
actually, speaking of all things sexual, shall we say. Scottie Pippen's ex-wife, Larsa Pippen, she's one of the Real Housewives. She's on a reality TV show over there. And she was on a show on Bravo where she was talking about, Watch What Happens Live is the name of the show. And she was talking about how she was married to Scottie Pippen, NBA legend for many years, and the two of them, they were busy. He wasn't just busy on the court. Scottie Pippen, he was busy off the court. Have a listen.
Always had sex like 4 times a night.
4 times a night?
A night. Yeah, so 3 times a week is nothing.
Hold on. You're telling me you had sex 4 times a night when you were married?
She's just saying she could pretty. I had sex 4 times a night, every night. I never had a day off for 23 years.
Wait, hold on, what?
What? Yeah. Yes.
What? Your poor vagina.
You had sex 28 times a week.
Yeah, I swear.
For 23 years?
Yeah.
So on the road too, when you was traveling? I don't know.
We never spent time away from each other.
Okay.
Like we had a private plane. I traveled with my kids. Yeah.
Marcus has big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
He wears the size 15 shoes. I think he's okay.
So prolific. There's a lot of things to unpack there. There's a lot of things to unpack there. Prolific scorer on and off the court, obviously, when it comes to their relationship. I mean, 4 times a night. I mean, they're married for 23 years. I'm married. I mean, 4 times a year would be happy.
wow. Yeah, it's like, wouldn't you be massively tired? To play 82 games of basketball a season as well.
Doesn't he travel on the road as well? She's anyway. I don't know. I mean, that seems like a good, healthy relationship. They were obviously very happy for many years, but now she's with Michael Jordan's son, right? And that's their new relationship, which must be kind of a bit unusual, because obviously Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan they were legendary for many years, but that must be just like a weird dynamic, right?
I know, I don't know. It sounds like she's, I don't know. If she's coming out admittedly saying that, and she's like, hey, he doesn't have anything to worry about. He's got size 15 feet.
So he was the guy that she was talking about with size 15 feet at the end.
I'll tell you look, size 13 feet, that doesn't matter, and any that doesn't give you any stamina or anything. Trust me, I tell you for free.
Oh, no, that's
We'll head to the stat bunker early for this one as well, because I just crunched the numbers for Scottie Pippen's ex-wife, and apparently, if they did it 28 times a week, 52 weeks a year, 23 years, that's 33,000 times 488.
33,000. So what was LeBron's scoring record?
898 or something.
Yeah, so
mate, he could have been up there. Didn't Wilt Chamberlain or something have he said he rooted like 100 thousands of girls or something?
There was a whole lot of statements going around before back in those days, that's for sure. So there you go. We're going to the stat bunker early with Joel Harrison working that out. Actually, I've got some other stats I want to throw at you in the stat bunker. I'll see if I get these correct for the German audience who know that I like to get these right for them. So the Kings, for the first time since the World War, they'll finish the season with less than 40 losses. So it's a long time that they haven't. Yeah, they've actually had a really good season, haven't they, Kings? They light the beam when they win the games, don't they?
I love the style that they play, and it's clear that they took a massive risk by trading away Halliburton, but it clearly paid off for both teams well with Sabonis, because he's been Sabonis Bonds, that's a good one. He's been instrumental. So has Darren Swiper the Fox. He's been great. But it was funny because at the start of the year, I mentioned it before in the podcast, but ESPN, they did like a power rankings of all 4 sports. It did baseball, basketball, hockey, and NFL. And then number 120 was the Sacramento Kings. So like they were ranked the worst team in the whole of America for all sports, and now they're probably going to be
one of the top teams in the NBA.
Three. And if they can make a run, that'd be incredible.
Steph Curry, here's another stat for you this week. Steph Curry became the first player in NBA history to score 10,000 points off just 3 points alone, which is pretty incredible.
That's incredible.
Giannis became the fourth player. There you go, I got that out. Fourth player in NBA history to put up a 20-point triple-double without missing a shot, 100%.
That's like unheard of these days.
Yeah.
No one misses. Yeah, that's incredible.
I think he's also played the most games for the Bucks ever.
Yes, I saw I'm really grown to like Giannis. Like I saw he put up like 6 different selfies of him. He's like, this guy just became the most.
Yeah,
which is pretty incredible.
I would have thought players. I mean, he's amazing, but I would have thought players would have played for the Bucks longer. And obviously, this is an interesting one. The Hawks have been one game off, basically .500, being 50%. For the past 25 games. So they've either just lost one, lost one. So they've been one game off, having that sort of 50-50 record for 25 games. So
Interesting. I actually also have another bit of a stat. It's quite a sad stat as well. Look, the NBA season hasn't even finished. I think there's still about 15 more games left. But very sad news because the Rockets, the Spurs, the Pistons and the Hornets, mate, they're already ruling out.
Because there's been teams obviously clinched playoffs, so they can't mathematically.
Yeah, unless they somehow win about 40 games. But it's grim scenes, and you see Michael Jordan looks like even he wants to jump ship on the Hornets.
Yeah, which is a shame because obviously one of the big draw cards for the Hornets is the fact that Michael Jordan is one of the owners.
Yeah, and just like things haven't really been clicking with LaMelo Ball, but look, if they can get a good draft pick next year, get Wemby, who knows?
Now, just before we head into fantasy this week, I thought it was kind of amusing that Michael Porter Jr., he did a pretty awesome dunk for the Nuggets, but he did it over Joker. He dunked over his own player.
For Denver, Jokic couldn't finesse it in, but Porter Jr. with the flush.
Did he mean the dunk on Jokic right there?
He dunked on his teammate's head.
Dumped right on his head, which is,
one
of the best dunks of the season. Do you have one off the top of your head that from the season so far that you're like, man, that was my favorite dunk so far?
Mac McClung in the dunk show.
Yeah.
One I actually really liked controversially was when Zion. It feels like Zion has been out for so long as well, which is kind of shit. But when there was like that. At the end of the game and nothing was happening, and then he just went and did that unreal 360 dunk.
That's right. Everyone got upset because they're like, you don't do that at the end of the game. I was like, why not? Why can't he do that in the game? Apparently you don't do that.
I think it was the coolest thing he ever did.
I thought it was kind of cool as well.
Yeah, well, obviously it's a bit like, oh, you don't do that, but he was just like,
I was like, why can't you
guys.
do it? Yeah, exactly. Why can't you do that?
Do you have one?
Well, it's probably the misses from Jar. Like, Jar's had a couple of ones that he almost got that would have been the most legendary ones of the week.
Yeah.
Of the season. Oh, of the week as well too.
It's weird the way he plays because it feels like he just drives to the line and he either gets an awesome dunk or he gets fouled, which is like a great way of doing it. But I saw somewhere recently Shaq was like, I reckon Jar's top 3 best 3-point shooters of all time. So I was like,
3-point shooters.
I see you wearing a Shaq shirt at the moment. I was like, I don't know if Shaq's been watching too much NBA recently, but yeah, Jar isn't even a renowned 3-point shooter at all.
No, I mean, I've been watching actually a little bit of Shaq's doco. It's quite good. It's on Neon at the moment. Although he does start off by saying that I like embellishing stories. Like I'm going to give you, I'm Showtime on the court, off the court. So you kind of go into everything he says and you're like, oh, is this what happened? But amazing. Like he was so dominant.
Yeah,
like it was during his playing days as well. And then I'm up to the bit where he kind of went and tried to get sort of Phil Jackson, who was the legendary Bulls coach, to kind of join the Lakers when they needed a coach. He had to drive all the way to Montana from across. Phil Jackson's like, you come to my house. It's in the middle of nowhere. I go off the grid. You come to me to talk to me, and you had to drive all the way across country. And then Phil Jackson's like, that big log there, can you take it across to that island across the water? So Shaq's swimming in the freezing cold water, taking this log as like a test for him to see how much he really wanted him.
Shaq-bone.
Yeah, he's the Shaq-bone of the show, of the lake show. And then he was like, all right, if I'm going to be coach, no more rapping. You limit your commercials. And I'll make sure you're MVP of like the All-Stars, MVP of the season, and we're going to win a championship. And Shaq went, all right. And They did. So Phil Jackson, we're looking before, like he's 11 rings coaching, and then I think he's got 2 rings as a player or something, which is incredible.
That's a great record. And we saw also Bill Russell has 11 rings as a player as well, which is just phenomenal. That's why he's such a legend, clearly. But LeBron, he only has 3 or 4, doesn't he?
Yeah, 4. Yeah. But
Tell you what, though, he's great at making final series, and that's why we love LeBron.
Well, he sort of carried those, some of those Cavs teams, which were a little bit on the average side through. Yep. But you're right. It seems like when it's all done and dusted, and I think Magic Johnson says it in the doco, it's all about rings at the end of the day. That's what people remember for in the NBA.
I think LeBron will be remembered. But more than fine for having those points and just probably being one of the greatest. That's the greatest of all time.
Let's head into fantasy.
Hey there, what's your fantasy?
Sorry, fantasy basketball? Yeah, basketball.
Now, Joel Harrison, will I get the same response if I ask you how are things going in our ACC Benchwarmers fantasy team? Because you're like, yep, my fantasy's done for the year. I'll take over. Are you doing it all?
Sorry, one sec, Ben Boyce. How did you go in fantasy? Look,
I got through.
Coming close.
I scraped through to the final 4. I think it was the top 4, and then I lost. I think it was coming down. I was winning slightly on the final day, but then I ended up losing in my battle. So I've dipped out of the final 4. I think going through. So. So I'm still, so I can't win our competition.
Yeah.
But really, I've got LeBron hurt by a lot of injuries. Injuries coming up in the wrong time.
If you go back into fantasy next year, like what is something that you'd changed? What have you learned from your fantasy experiences this year? Who are players that you think like I definitely need to get that player this year?
Yeah, it's probably players that you there are some players you would have had a chance to get. I think I didn't get Halliburton.
Yeah.
Things like that. I picked some players. Trae Young was one of my first, I think he was my first big pick, but he's been better of late, but there's definitely been players that have probably been better fantasy players.
Yeah, definitely. What about LeBron? Would you pick him next year?
Oh, no, that's my friend said that to me the other day. It felt like I was in one of those drink driving commercials when they were like, hey, we need to talk. And he was like, this is my friend who's doing really well in fantasy. And he was like, hey, mate, I think next year. And I was like, what's that? He's like, I think it's probably time not to pick LeBron this year.
Yeah.
I was like, but I like that about fantasy when I can like watch my favorite player and my favorite team and be trying to cheer them on. But LeBron, obviously 38, and the body's starting to, he's still amazing when he's on the court and he still dominates. But I don't know. I feel like everyone will probably just save LeBron for me to go back there because I'll just want to try and get him.
Yeah, like just dangle the carrots in front of you about that. But now how easy it is for you to take.
So that'll be the thing. I'll get someone and they'll be like, all right, Giannis for LeBron.
Yeah, it's pretty grim scenes in our fantasy this year. Look, I've just logged in. I did a bit of monitoring. I didn't do any changes or subs, but hey, we did a bit of monitoring last week, and look, we got a 10-10 record overall still.
So we're still 50%. We're like 50%. Slightly better than the Hawks.
Yeah, had a big loss last week, but we're up 8-1 this week, which is good. I can only imagine that the playoffs must be very soon. I actually don't know where to find any of that information. I'm still boomering my way around the website. But
it's the Yahoo one we're using at the moment. Actually, if anyone's got any advice and they're listening to this, please message us, DM us on the ACC on Instagram, because we're struggling a little bit through the Yahoo app, aren't we?
Exactly, yeah. Maybe next year we'll join an ESPN one, because it seems like that's a lot easier for us oldies,
Yeah, you being 23. And finally, before we go, let's look at a couple of our favourite funny moments of the week.
It's the big alley-oop. It's not the one name.
The alley-oops. Some of our favourite funny moments, as I said before. And Charles Barkley, he loves... I should have called my dog Charles Barkley, because I thought it would have been a cool name for a dog, because he's, Barkley, or Bark Wahlberg. But he said that he used to shout in his uniform, and he says stuff, and then everyone rips him apart.
We used to take a shower in our uniforms because, because we flew commercial my first few years.
Wait, time out. There's no era where you did it.
Yes, it is.
Stop, you're making this up.
No, I'm not.
There's no way that you were supposed to wash your uniform with it on.
You're
making this up.
I'm not making this up. When I first got to the NBA, we flew commercial.
Yes, that's accurate. I'm not disagreeing with you.
So when you played the night before and flew the next morning, when was you exactly going to get your uniform clean? You had to wash your uniform yourself. So after the game, when you got to your room, you took a shower in your uniform and dried it and dropped on the commercial airline the next day.
Who are you with Jed Clampett?
No, please.
That's why you had to let him finish.
Come on. Yeah, have you ever heard of this in your life? Come
So
on.
he showers. Showered with the uniform on as someone who's, what do they say in the ACC, a trough coward. That's me. I don't like using the urinal next to other people. I'm a trough coward. That seems like my ideal conditions. Showering with my uniform on. A team sport shower wasn't my place. It wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
But some people love it. Some people can wander around nude and they're fine. G-Lane from the ACC.
Yeah.
Oh, any excuse, like
I know.
Yeah.
Weird. I saw they put a photo up on the ACC Instagram last night.
Well, that was kind of disturbing.
Matt Heath shoving a sausage up his ass. But
What was that photo?
I don't know.
Was it a Kit Kat? What was it? I don't know what it was. Anyway, I was like, okay, well, that was what they were doing, which is fine. Each their own.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like showering in the uniform. Do you reckon that happened?
I don't know. It seems like a weird story. And they're like, this never happened. What era was it on? He's like, it seems like he was pretty adamant about it. But someone, as a 22-year-old who struggles to get around the washing cycle, maybe this could be a way. I just go home, jump in the shower, just come back to work in the same clothes tomorrow.
Kevin Love this week, well, he wasn't loving this. He got hit in the goalies.
I mean, you don't dribble like that, everybody. You tuck your arm in to protect the ball. You don't have a free hand out there floating around trying to make contact.
So yeah, okay, that one probably works better more visually. Yeah, but it actually kind of works because they're talking about your hand and not being there and a free ball and stuff like that. But he got right hit in the nuts, didn't he? And it really did look like he was in a lot of pain.
Yeah, you don't want that, especially with a basketball, a fully grown man with a full pace basketball. That's that's not gonna be a pleasant sight.
Do you know there was that theory? I don't know if you ever heard that, but if you did get hit in that region as a dude, you were meant to jump on your heels. Did you ever know that?
Jump on your heels?
Yeah, it was meant to. That's what someone said.
Should we test it out right now?
Oh, sure, yeah. But I did actually try it when I was eating jump, and it feels like that's the last thing you really want to be doing is jumping on your heels.
Well, next time it happens, I'll do it and report back to you.
Okay, and finally, a little bit of a power play. Fultz from the Magic tried to untie Terrence Ross's shoes mid-game.
Oh, but look at that. You're not supposed to be messing with guys' equipment. Right there, if Terrence Ross had that would have been me, I would have failed. Said, Fisher, he untied my shoe.
Do you like that? Do you play a lot of social netball? I used to love, and I was just one of those things, just when you run past someone and they've got the ball and you just kind of tap it out of their hand and they'll be like, oh, ref. Like that was just a little move like that. Do you ever do anything like that? You playing your social sport?
Look, mate, there's nothing social about the netball we play, but yeah, kind of. Like I feel like I like to be a fair player, but the shoe tying one's interesting because someone could fall and there could be a serious head knocks, mate.
Here we go, mate. You
These
sound like
days
bloody someone
with
a
HR
keyboard warrior on the thing. You're right. You really sucked the fun out of that conversation, haven't you?
Yeah, sorry about that one.
But you're right. You're right. You know those things you're like, oh, that's really funny. And then someone's like, no, but if he takes the shoes off, they're going to.
No, if he's running, look, it's a big fall for those NBA players. They're tall guys. Mate, they could break arms. They could be out. They could ruin your fantasy. Come on, Ben Boyce.
You're right.
Mate.
You're right. There's a lot of money on the line. You're right. I am better than that. And that is the Benchwarmers for another week. Thank you, Joe Harrison, for hanging out with me again.
It's been good to be here. I think we should probably say next week we do have a special guest who's going to be joining us on the podcast.
Oh, yes.
Which is exciting. And we can announce it.
Yeah.
It is... it is LeVar Ball.
Yeah, LeVar Ball. Yeah, I thought you looked like you had a little introduction. I was like, oh, has he prepared something?
I was going to say.
We've got LeVar Ball. Yeah, so obviously, well, if you would know. If you love basketball, you know exactly who LeVar Ball is. He's got two sons, or actually three sons playing in the NBA right now of this season. So, yeah.
How controversial can the questions get? No,
well, LeVar Ball, is very outspoken. That's what and as a dad as well, who's like had sons in the NBA, and obviously he was a really, really top basketballer as well, LeVar Ball. It's going to be really fun to have him on the podcast next week.
Yeah, and if you do have a question that you would like us to ask, you have a question that you would like to know about LeVar Ball, it might be, how come his sons always get injured? Is it because of the shoes that he makes?
Because he had his own shoe. Oh, yeah, well, good luck. You can ask him that one. But yeah, he has his own Big Baller brand of shoes, right?
Yeah. So yeah, just send it. I can send it to send it through to Ben on Instagram or the ACCNZ on Instagram.
Ben_Boyce. He was a footballer, right? He was like LeVar Ball, and I think he played basketball and some football as well. College basketball, professional football.
It's a great last name to have.
Ball.
Yeah, I would call my kids Basket, Foot.
Oh, we'll ask him. Do you reckon we ask him that one? Any question? All right, fire it through. We'll see if we got the guts. So
we'll see if Ben. We can put it on Ben.
We'll see if we can win over LeVar Ball next week, which is awesome. He's in Aotearoa. I think they're doing some camps, some schools, sort of running some clinics. They're also doing like a celebrity match, a whole lot of stuff as well. So
yeah. So we'll talk about that more next week on the podcast, and hopefully we have a third man.
Yeah, well, LeVar Ball.
Maybe LeVar Ball. He can.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be with us now, you can't be with us when you got LeVar Ball.
Yeah, he'll be out with us next week. Have yourself a great week. Enjoy the NBA. Go the Lakers or the other team that you really love, because not everyone loves the Lakers. I know that. We'll catch you next week on the Benchwarmers.
Hopefully the German fans like LeVar Ball.
Yeah.